What's up guys, welcome back to another video. This one's actually gonna be a pretty fun one for me. I'm pretty much gonna talk about my dream build for this Cobra. Like any other big car guy, gal out there, you know, we dream of building our cars to the spec, you know, to the vision that we have. Even though this car, I love driving it stock, and I don't even know if I'm gonna modify it like per my imagination. It's still pretty cool to go through and like kind of build my dream list. And as they say, you know, dreaming costs nothing. It's free, right? So shoot, why not? Why not make this video? So starting off, we got what I call the stage one. So first on my list would be upgrading the brakes. These stock Cobra brakes, they're not horrible, but they're not the best either. They could be a lot better. So I would definitely want to do some slotted and drilled rotors on all four corners, upgrade the brake pads, do stainless steel lines, change the brake fluid, you know, all that good stuff. So that'd probably be the first thing I'd do, because later down the line, I'd want to throw some extra power, you know? So you got to make sure you can stop, right? Next on my list is an upgraded alternator, especially the KMJ alternator. I had that on my torch red Cobra, and it's just one of those preventative maintenance things. Alternators are known and prone to go out on these cars all the time. Who knows if this alternator has been replaced in this car, but if it has, I'm willing to bet it's the OEM spec alternator. So definitely I would want to replace it with a beefier, the higher amp one from KMJ. I believe it's the 170 would be the one I'd go with. So, and along with that, I would do the big 3 wire kit for sure. And then the last thing on the stage one would be the shifter. Guys, the stock shifter on this car or on these cars, they completely suck. They could be a lot better. It just feels really sloppy in there, you know, and like if you're trying to reach to shift into 5th gear, you might make the mistake of shifting into reverse. How do I know that? Well, I've made that mistake myself, unfortunately, but that'd be one of the things that for sure I can't, like, it'd be like a night and day difference if I did that to this car. So there you go. That'd be a stage one right there, just to kind of beef it up a little bit and make the driving experience better on this car. Stage two. All right. So stage two, we get to a little bit funner stuff. So what I would like to do, I would like to upgrade the exhaust system in this car. The exhaust in this car is super quiet. It's fine, but I feel like it needs to growl more. It's just too quiet. So I kind of want to do things different with this car. I know in my red Cobra, I did the long tubes with the borderline catback. Sounded amazing, but it was borderline too loud for me. I know it's kind of crazy to say that. That's as loud as I would go with these cars and for me. But I want to kind of, you know, kick it back a notch, kind of go with that more of that nostalgic old school chambered sound. So for this car, I actually want to go with a Mac Pro Chamber mid pipe. And let me back up. I think I'm just going to keep the stock manifolds for now, but add the Mac Pro Chamber mid pipe. And to top it off, I want to throw in there a Mac catback. As you all know, Mac parts are discontinued. So they're really hard to come by. I'm fortunate enough to say that I was actually able to acquire a Pro Chamber mid pipe and some brand new stainless steel Mac flow path mufflers. So that'll go on this car at some point in the future. I kind of want the car to sound something like this. So in continuation of this stage two part of the build, the dream list would be some H&R Sport Springs. This car sits way too high. Like, I cringe, honestly. It rides really smooth, but I cringe because I'm used to having nice, like, low cars. So definitely I want to go with the Sport Springs because they have more of a softer spring rate versus the race springs. I had the races on my Torch Red Cobra. It looked fine, but it was a little more of a stiffer ride This car, I want to keep it as comfortable as possible because I just love the way it rides as stock. So sport springs seem to be the right choice for me. And moving on from there, obviously, when you change the geometry, you gotta correct it, right, from lowering the car. So in order to correct that, I would install a set of caster camber plates for a Maximum Motorsports. And since I would be lowering this car, and I got a pretty meaty setup in the back with the 315R 888s, I would definitely roll my fenders in the back just to not risk the chance of tearing up my tires, because those tires are pretty expensive, you know, so just to keep things all clean, and I don't want no rubbing at all. Okay, that concludes stage 2. Stage 3 is probably like the fantasy part, right? Like this is a part where I'd probably go all out on this car. And as you can imagine, in this stage is where I would want to throw all the power into this car and just make it just a freaking like ripper, you know, just have a blast to drive it. And don't get me wrong, stock, it's no slouch, but more power. Come on guys, you know how it goes. To kind of start off, before going crazy and just throwing a big old supercharger and all that, you gotta do supporting mods, right? So earlier I touched about the alternator and the brakes. Well, now on this list that I have, I would want to upgrade the pulleys on this car to the Metco, the billet Metco pulleys, because those are known for snapping at even lower horsepower numbers. So from there, I would want to do the head cooling mod, specifically the one from Cobra Engineering, just to kind of get things proper between the heads, make sure there's coolant flowing to and from one or the other. I don't want to mess up my motor. I mean, the engine in this car is the most expensive thing out of this whole thing, right? So definitely want to protect that the most I can. Next up would be the McLeod twin disc clutch and flywheel kit. Also upgrading to the 26 spline input shaft and transmission. You want to make sure that your car can put down the power to the wheels reliably, right? You know, I don't want to be dealing with slipping clutches and potentially screwing up my transmission, blowing it up, you know. So you got to do these supporting mods first, right? But it's all good stuff. And I've driven a couple cars with twin disc from McLeod, and it drives honestly even better than stock. So that'd be a really nice upgrade. All right, now let's get to the apex, right? Let's get to the climax of all of this. What supercharger would I want to go with this car? Honestly, you can't go wrong with any of them out there right now. It's a blessing, guys, that companies out there are still supporting these cars. That just says a lot about these Terminators, you know. People still want to buy them, and they're smart, right? Because they're still supporting them, because there's still money in the game, right? And technology is still keeping up with these cars. So whether it's a Gen 5 Whipple, a VMP, you know, the Kenny Bell, it doesn't matter. They're all amazing blowers. But on this car, I must say that I would love to have a VMP Gen 3R supercharger. I don't know, there's just something about it. Out of all the big superchargers, this one is a little bit smaller. It's a 2.65 displacement, which I feel like is a happy medium, because the Gen 5, the 3.0, it's just a massive blower. And they say that unless if you don't go with like E85, there's not really no point in having it. May or may not be true, I don't know. The Kenny Bells are awesome, but if I were to get one, I would get the one with the Mammoth inlet, but you had to remove or change the location of the battery and all that stuff, and I don't want to do none of that. So the VMP blower to me is the best out of the bunch, is the one that I've had my eyes on for such a long time. I just love the way it looks. It's technically a small blower, but at the same time it is a big blower, so it would be a great blower to be on 93 octane, because that's what I have here in Texas, in North Texas, and I don't really plan on going to E85. So, and I've seen some impressive numbers with those blowers on pump gas, and I don't know, to me they just look really cool. When you pop that hood, you see that massive intake, the supercharger, it looks really nice and clean, that Superman logo. I don't know, guys, there's just something about it that I love. And the big plus to it is it has a removable elbow. So the elbow that I would go with is the GT500 one, and it's really convenient because if you ever need to remove it to have access to work on your car, change plugs, etc., I mean, you can do it, unlike the other ones. Now that we have the main head unit, I would go with a GT500 throttle body. And then lastly, to top it off, I would get the Whipple 5-inch crusher intake to go with that supercharger, because to me, it just, I don't know, man, it just looks amazing. So yeah, that's definitely the blower that I'd love to have on this car one day. So with more power, you gotta also aim for having a cooler inlet air temperatures as well. So I would upgrade my heat exchanger to the Department of Boost heat exchanger. It's a massive heat exchanger. It's probably, well, I've heard that they've said, and it probably is the best in the industry for these cars. So that'd be the one I would get. I mean, no questions whatsoever. Since I'm throwing power at this car and I would want to have fuel powering the engine properly, I might as well upgrade to a 4 fuel system. I'd love to retain the stock fuel system, you know, just throw a booster pump, upgrade the fuel pumps, bigger injectors, etc. But you know, guys, there's nothing like going with a reputable fuel system, and as long as it's done properly, like, it should last forever, right? So I would go with the 1 LE fuel system. There's no need to go with the level 2 and above for what I'm aiming on this car. I want to stay around 650 horsepower to the wheel. That's a very fun number. That's what I had on my Torch Red Coupe, and that car was absolutely a blast. It could even be a little scary at times if I wasn't careful. So I don't need no more than that. So to top off the fuel system, I would have to replace my fuel injectors. The ones I would go with, no questions asked, would be the Injector Dynamics 1050Xs to top it all off. So here's another item 2 on my list. Again, remember guys, we're on stage 3. Would be upgrading the thermostat to 170-degree thermostat. And then to top it all off, guys, after throwing all this power, all this fuel upgrade systems and whatnot, of course, you got to get that sauce, you got to get that tune. Nothing else like Kevin Dunn, the man himself. Get him to tune this Cobra, and of course, all through the help of the SCT tuning device. So that would be the perfect top off on this power build. I would love to have cams in this car. I would love to throw some big old set of cams from Todd Warren and just have this thing chopping like crazy. But you know, guys, I'm on the fence of that. I don't know if I really want to give up some drivability over the sound, because it's so nice driving a really smooth car that whenever you hit the throttle, man, the car just turns into a beast, you know. So I don't know, you know, we'll put that on the pending side, right? Because through that comes not only buying cams, but you got to install them, and whenever you open up your engine, well, might as well change the whole timing assembly and the labor, and it gets pretty costly, right? So that'd be something for later on in the future if I wanted to do it. Okay guys, we're almost getting to the end. Stage 4. This is kind of where I get down to like just the dress up part of the engine bay and stuff like that. So Harpo Autofab 2-in-1 tank, no doubt, that's what I would go with this car. Freaking love his work. Beautiful pieces that he builds, and that combined with a nice VMP Gen 3R under the hood with this DSG coupe, whew, it just flows. It would flow perfectly, right? Along with that, I would get the brake fluid reservoir cover from him as well, just to kind of have it all match up. And lastly, the power steering reservoir, just to have all the same matching pieces throughout the engine bay. Well, I say lastly, but actually I would also throw in the radiator cover that he offers. He has some really nice ones. Honestly, I don't know which one I would choose for this car. I really like that snakehead one. I had that on my red coupe. I might go with that one again, or I might stick with something more basic, more simple. I don't know. You can't go wrong with any of them. On the inside, of course, I would want to install a set of gauges for sure to track my wideband, the boost level, probably fuel, stuff like that. So with that being said, I would love to have the speed of sound gauge pillar, which they are like darn near impossible to find nowadays. But they do pop up here and there. So maybe, you know, I'll get lucky like I did with the Mac exhaust stuff that I had back there. Probably upgrade the sound system, you know. I don't have nothing against the OEM Mach 460 sound system, but one of those Bluetooth connectors you put into the cigarette lighter location, it works just fine. No complaints, but it could be a little bit better. And then to tie off all of it, I would have to do the Grand Design matte trunk liner. That is an iconic piece. This car, I feel like, I don't know, like when I dreamed of having a Terminator, like that's one of the first things that would come to my mind was having that trunk liner. So I'd for sure have to get one of those. Now we went through all 4 stages, guys. Now, the very last thing to do, and this is a maybe, this is a huge maybe. So the very last thing that left on my list, and I'll explain why, is this stage 5 parts, right? What is it? Well, a set of CCW wheels on this car. I would love to have another set of CCWs, especially the twisted ones. But something about these 5-spoke wheels, even the 17-inch size that I have right now, once lowered properly, it's just money. You know, they look perfect on these cars. 17s and 18s, they don't matter. But that's why it's on the last on my list, because I actually love how my car looks with these wheels. But the CCWs would just be more of a, you know, if I get tired of the look or want to switch it up a little bit, then I would throw the CCWs. So I would definitely not prioritize it, because as nice as they are, or any forged wheel really, I love all the aftermarket wheels out there, but as nice as they are, to me, the use of that money can go towards hundreds of other things on this car. So I'd rather put it to use on some more effective things like that. Well, pretty much reached the end of the video. We went through my dream build for this Cobra. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun making this video actually, and it's just one of those things that you know, you just dream of doing. You know, I don't know what path I'll take. You know, I'm just taking it day by day. You know, and just I drive this car so much because I just enjoy driving it. You know, it's crazy. None of my other cars that I've had in the past I've driven as much as I have this one. So that says a lot. I just really want to enjoy it. So anyways, guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for sticking with me through this entire video, going through my Cobra dream build. We'll see what the future awaits, right? Anyways, Lowe's Car 50 out.
The starting of the week, that's coming.